you can see the difference in the ones that have
Yeah.
had private practice.
Yeah.
They just look that bit more, I don't know, maybe natural because
Yeah.
they're just doing it that more regularly. They're out most days, driving their own cars.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, when we turn these people down for
Mm.
driving tests, I think they just think we're being horrible.
Yeah.
We're not. So
No.
firstly, it's all about safety.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that person is safe to be on the road, and
Yeah.
I need time to check that.
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, secondly, is if we do bring people who aren't suitable, yes, we will get pulled up on it.
Hi, and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle, or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe, and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hi, and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now, today we've got a very special guest who I've known for, I'm 21. We're 21. How long have I known you?
21.
Yeah, about 20 years. So Michael Sargent, who runs Nayland Driving School and has recently launched Driving Lessons at Home, which is online how to drive, which we'll go into because straight away I can feel people going, you can't learn to drive online, that's mental. But we're going to talk all about that. But Michael's a very, very experienced driving instructor. Not only has he become a driving instructor himself, he also instructs other driving instructors? Is that how
Instructor training?
Instructor training.
Trainer.
Say, I know. Anyway, welcome
Yeah.
to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Right.
So tell us, what made you want to become a driving instructor?
Okay, so why did I become a driving instructor? So I'd been doing some sort of manual work, most of it based in London, and I thought to myself, I thought, oh, okay, don't really want this to be. I enjoyed it, but I don't really want this to be for the rest of my years.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of what else to do, and this is the time when a lot of the driving instructor training companies were advertising on the TV. Trying to become a driving instructor. Do you remember that? Yeah. Yeah, there was a real big push for it, wasn't there? Which actually wasn't the best time to go into it, to. So it turns out, because it ended up being quite flooded, but I survived. And I thought, oh, I wonder if that's something I could do, because the problem I had was I had no GCSEs or anything like that. So I thought, well, not only have I got to go back to college if I want to do something, I've probably got to get my GCSEs before I can even go to college. And I thought, this seems like a good option. I enjoy driving. My dad used to drive European tour coaches, so driving was kind of a bit of a family thing. So I thought, okay, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So that was when I was 23, I think.
So in 2 years' time, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. We got it. Yeah. Yeah, and that's how I got into it.
So did you go into, because now you've got obviously Nayland Driving School and you have driving instructors working for you. So is that how you got into it with another driving school, or did you just go full on self-employed?
Yeah, so I trained with a northern-based company. Actually, they were good trainers. I can't knock them for the training. However, they weren't particularly good at the business end and supply me work and so on. So I was there for a very short period. I was there about 6 months just to get through my training, and then me and my wife had a chat, and we were like, okay, well, let's why don't you go and do it by yourself? We're like, actually, you could probably do less work and still be just as well off because of the fees and everything else. And as it goes, it turned out fine.
Paid off.
Yeah, I think actually a large part of it was because I was still quite young when I trained.
Yeah.
I still knew quite a lot of young people and a lot of people that didn't drive. So I think that kind of helped. Without realising, I had quite a good network around me to get started. Because I had a lot of people, younger brothers, sisters, and things like that. So yeah, that's how I started.
Nice.
And the instructor training bit was complete chance.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so one of my old learner drivers approached me. It must have been one of my very early ones. Approached me sort of 4 or 5 years later and said, I'd like to train as a driving instructor. So, okay. I said, look, I'll give you the number of my trainer, and so and the guy trained. She went, no, I want you to do it. I was like, okay.
What a compliment.
Well, yeah, it was, but it was also a bit nerve-wracking for me because they only get 3 goes. So there's
Okay.
three exams.
Yeah.
First one you get unlimited attempts.
Yeah.
Second and third one you're limited to 3 goes.
Okay.
So I said, I've not done this before, and I said,
Oh.
yeah, and I said, said, you only get 3 goes at this, but they were like, no, definitely want it to be you. I was like, okay, fine. So I trained them. I did the instructor training qualification alongside it, which was what they call audit.
Yeah.
So I did that alongside training her, and yeah, and then she passed, but of course then she needed work.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I've got some work, I've got some, waiting lists and so on. So she stayed with me,
Amazing.
and then the rest kind of just grew from there.
That's
But
just
it was never my intention.
Was it
I
not?
know I was quite happy just being on my own, going out doing lessons, but as I say, by chance the
Yeah.
opportunities came, and
And was it always Nayland Driving School as well? So it's always been Nayland Driving School.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Had I have known I was going to expand it, I may have gone with something different.
Yeah.
But my intention was only to teach the local people.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, I did, when it did start expanding, I did very briefly consider changing the name and decided against it.
No, yeah, I think you've built up a brand at that point, haven't you? And people know you.
Yeah.
And especially if you've got people coming to you like that and asking. So there's obviously something in your instruction and the way you work with people. So someone to come and literally say, oh, I want you to teach me how to be a driving instructor. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a nice, it was nice to know that someone was willing to sort of take that chance, because I was quite honest. I was like, I've not done this before.
Yeah. But I think that's the best way to be as well, and especially if you've got. So how does it work with the three? Like how do you become a driving instructor? In my head, I've passed my driving test, and obviously I'm an amazing driver. She says receiving a speeding fine last week, but but how does it work? What do you have? What are the steps you have to go through?
So the first step is you basically go through a checking process with the DVSA, and they check that you've got they say no more than 6 points. But yeah, you can apply. Should be no more than 6 points on your license.
6 probably fair if you're teaching others.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they let you in with any, to be honest. Well, maybe 3 or 6, because I could argue my speeding fine, but at the end of the day, I was speeding. So it's right or wrong, isn't it? It's very black or white. So I'm surprised they let you.
Yeah, there was someone, I think a couple of years ago I trained who think they had 6 points. They got one letter saying, yes, you're accepted onto register. And I think got another letter of warning at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no more than 6 points, and be over 21 and have a driving license for over 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's your minimum requirement. So you apply with the DVSA, and they will say check your points, and you do a criminal record check at what they call it, DBS check. I know, change the name. DBS check, isn't it? Yeah. So you do your DBS check, and they check your driving license, and then you get accepted as what they call a PDI, which stands for potential driving instructor.
Okay.
At that point, you can book your what they call ADI Part 1, which is an advanced theory test.
Yeah.
Very similar to the LTEC, the learner one.
Yeah.
But it's got more questions, and for anyone who's done has a perception.
Yeah.
It's same test, just a higher score.
Right.
So I think learners have to get, I think it's 44 on the hazard perception, and driving instructors have to get 57.
Right.
So effectively, you just got to spot the hazards quicker. And I say it's 100 questions rather than 50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your ADI Part 1.
Yeah.
And the second part is your ADI Part 2, which is your advanced driving test. Again, very similar to an L test.
Yeah.
You've still got manoeuvres to do. It's still based on driver faults, serious faults, and dangerous faults.
Yeah.
But it's an hour.
Okay.
It's an hour rather than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And an L test, you're allowed 15 faults.
Yeah.
An ADI Part 2, you're only allowed 6.
I was going to say that's got to be low, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's fair. It's doable. people quite often pass it with 1 or 2 faults.
Yeah.
You get the odd clean sheet, but
Yeah.
you know, none of us are perfect.
No.
An hour was quite a long time to drive without.
An hour's an intense
An hour was a long time.
situation as
Yeah.
well.
And
And it's having that person there next. I know you're used to that when you're obviously learning, but to have someone is all their job is to sit and stare at everything you do. Like there's no other situation where that happens.
yeah, and a lot of people quite often say, because you know, people who come to me are all ages, you know, some of these people haven't sat an exam in like 20 years or something, so this is their first time being tested in a long time, and they're like, oh, this is a bit weird, you know, I thought I was done with all the exams and stuff. But yes, once they pass that, they've then got to do their part 3 training. So they've got to do their training, which basically helps them become a driving instructor. So they've checked their theory knowledge, they've checked their own driving. They've now got to learn to teach others.
Yeah.
Which is where we do various different things, but a lot of it is, you know, role play based, where, you know, I'll pretend to be the learner and so on.
Yeah.
Now they've got a couple of options here. Most people do their 40 hours.
Yeah.
It's 40 hours minimum.
Right, okay.
And they take what they call a trainee license.
Okay.
If you want to do a direct attempt without the trainee license, which means do some training, go straight into the exam, technically there's no minimum amount of hours. But sort of 95% of people will take a trainee license.
Yeah.
A trainee license allows people to go out on the road, they teach, they can charge for those lessons, but the main point of it is to gain experience for the final exam.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their final exam will be them teaching someone to drive.
Right.
So the trainee license allows them to teach for up to 6 months, and gain experience final exam.
Yeah.
They can get paid, but yeah, the main aim is for the experience.
Yeah.
But because they're going out on the road with learner drivers, having not passed the final exam, there's a minimum requirement of 40 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get that 40 hours signed off, you can get your trainee license.
Yeah.
And then you can go out teaching.
Yeah.
With the idea being you pass it first time around probably month 3 or 4, and you've got a couple of months in reserve if you need it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at the time we're doing this, test waiting times are a bit all over the place, so it's not normally that
No.
smooth. But that would be the
in an ideal
world.
Right.
You'd pass it, say, around month 3 or 4, and have a couple of months spare.
Yeah.
You know, if you needed them for extra attempts.
And do you take, so obviously, because you obviously recruit
Mm-hmm.
new instructors, do you take everybody? Do you have your own, like, does Nayland have your own personal, like, whether you take someone on or not? Or
Yeah, so, you know, we offer to take most people on, the ones that are trained directly through us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get people who train through other companies,
Mm.
because I'm a specialist trainer as such. Quite often I train people for other companies as well, so they've already, you know, doing their own thing. But the ones that come direct to us, we give them the option. They don't have to sign up with us, but yeah, we give them the option.
Yeah.
You know, once we get through that to that part 3 stage and we start talking about licenses and so on, we then, you know, they don't really have to think about it too much till then, because they've got so much else to think about with all the other exams. That,
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you're allowed 2 years from the day you pass part 1.
Right, okay.
So from the day you pass your part 1, which is your theory test,
Yeah.
you've got 2 years to complete the process
Okay.
and pass the final exam.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got time.
Yeah.
You know, with test waiting times the way they are, it probably takes, you know, 12, 18 months, something on a good run.
Yeah.
You know, assuming you pass all your exams and everything else.
Yeah. And as those waiting times, is that still an overhang from COVID, or is that just always?
It never got better after
No.
COVID.
Okay.
They are trying to get the waiting times back down again, but yeah, they went sky high in COVID and they've just not been able to get them back down again.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know for sure, but I guess that before COVID, the waiting list was about 6 weeks for a practical test. Whereas I think at the moment, I think it's about 20 20 and a half weeks, I think, last I heard.
Yeah. It's a
But
long time, isn't it, when you're... I mean, I was desperate to pass my test when I was
yeah,
17, so...
yeah, there's many reasons why I think they're struggling to get it down.
Yeah.
But it does add to the students' anxieties and stuff, because
Yeah.
like you say, if they're worried that if they don't pass, they'll go away another 20 weeks to
Yeah.
retake it. I mean, there are ways to get cancellation tests
Mm.
and things like that.
Does that work? Is there hacks into how to get in, or is it just a luck and...
Yeah, I think this is my personal thought is I think this is half the problem,
Yeah.
because there's lots of cancellation apps where you can get
Yeah.
cancellation taps, but it's so first come first serve that people are grabbing tests
Yeah.
and then can't find anyone to take them.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and then you're getting a lot of wastage.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I think these are half the problem.
So is it not that... Because when I took my test, all the best drivers passed second time, just FYI.
Yeah, I was the same.
Yeah.
Second time.
Yes,
second
it's
time,
fine. It's like a warm-up act. It's fine. So I obviously took my test with the guy I'd been learning to drive with for a long time. Took my test, failed, and that was it. It was like, all right, good luck. So I then had to find another driving instructor. So I found another driving instructor, and then it was like she handheld me through it. So if people are getting tests, are they not already with an instructor, or has that changed? Or
yeah.
I don't know. I think because I'm quite a loyal person, so I'd be like, well, you're my instructor. Surely you'll hold my hand through it all. Or
Yeah, I mean, most people, if they don't pass first time, they'll stay working with their instructor. And they'll work together for a second attempt or whatever's needed. Sometimes people do go and find other instructors, but I think because the waiting lists are so high at the moment, there's been a bit of a change in mentality where people are booking tests and then trying to find a driving instructor.
Right. Okay.
So like you said about getting a new instructor for your second attempt,
Yeah.
if you were to ring me, having grabbed a cancellation, if you ring me, look, I've got a cancellation for a week's time, I won't touch that. No, it's not, and it's nothing against you. You could be really good standard.
Yeah, I wasn't. She spent quite a lot of time with me before I went second time, so
that's
was
kind of
the
my
other way
point.
around. But yeah,
is that I can't take you on with a week's notice.
Yeah.
A week isn't enough time for me
to
to
get
check
someone.
all the different areas. When you think about all the different elements involved in driving, I can't possibly check that in like a 2-hour lesson.
No.
And then of course that leads to potentially wastage, because that might not be a test not used.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't find anyone to take them. Maybe they haven't got their own car to take.
Yeah.
And then maybe they don't even cancel them. Maybe they just don't turn up.
Yeah.
You get a lot of no-shows at the moment at driving test centres.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My I think because I'm a loyal person and I don't like... I'm a people pleaser anyway, and don't like letting anyone down. I can't imagine booking, because you're booking and paying for that test.
Yeah.
And are you paying for... Because obviously you have to pay for, 3 hours for an instructor in a car?
It depends
Average.
on the instructor and where you live and so on, but yeah.
Yeah, but you've booked and paid all that in advance, so why would you not show... I just can't... I don't get it, but it's the same. It's as simple as a restaurant as well. I can't imagine booking a table and just no-showing at a restaurant, so I just don't get that.
No, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I work with people who use Berry Driving Test Centre, which is not one I use, but I think they make a note of when they get cancellations, and I think they're averaging about 30 a month or something.
That's mad.
But if that's happening across the entire country,
and there's a waiting list, it's just what a nightmare.
all that wastage.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is where people are getting driving tests, then trying to find instructors.
Yeah, can't find
and
instructors.
Most of the instructors won't go anywhere near one like that.
Well, as well, because it reflects badly on you, and there's not many other industries where the result, it's on you as a driving instructor if you've worked with that person for 6 months, 12 months, whoever it is, to a point, because I've got family members that have not passed and they've changed driving instructors and they've just tried. They just can't do it, whether it's a stress at test thing or there's certain... I don't know. So, but when it's someone calling you up saying completely unknown and go, oh, can you just get me through my test in a week? That reflects badly on you. And there's not many other industries where the results you've got, it's almost out of your control, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is another thing as well. I mean, first of all, for me, it's about safety. I'm not going to put anyone in for tests that I don't think is competent. You know, I don't want to read about them in like a local paper or social media.
Yeah.
See them in a tree and go, oh, that was one I put through for test.
Yeah.
So firstly, I wouldn't put anyone in for tests that I wouldn't want sharing the road with the kids, like my kids.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my first rule. But yeah, you're right along the point of, we get pulled up if we continue to bring bad candidates for test.
Oh really?
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people.
Centre as well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
No, you wouldn't know that.
No, a lot of people don't know that.
No.
And they think that when we're not taking them, we're just being horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we repeatedly bring bad fails to driving test, I'm trying to think of the correct words.
Yeah.
We'll get pulled up on it. You know, the DVSA who monitor our badges, our licenses, will say, well, hang on, you know, that you've got serious and dangerous faults. You know, the examiner's constantly on their dual pedals. You know, what are you doing putting these people in for tests? Isn't more to it than that, but there's a whole trigger process. But that's effectively what it's there for. Is if we're constantly bringing people who aren't ready, we're going to get pulled.
So you can't do it because obviously flipping that in a way. At the moment now, if you talk about driving lessons and everyone's like, oh my God, it's £40 an hour. And it's like any industry. We've had it recently where Andy helped someone for 15 minutes. And she was like, don't you charge by 15 minutes? It's like, no, it's minimum of an hour. But you've paid, wasn't just 15 minutes. That was, and the same with driving lessons. That's not £40 going in your pocket. That's the car, the fuel, and everything that comes with a small business. But actually, that whole thing of everyone wants to get into driving instructor because it's easy money. You just go out for an hour and earn. Well, no, if someone's doing it like that just to get loads of money and get people through the tests, you're going to get pulled up at that end of it because you're not going to. Yeah, you're not gonna. I did not know that. No,
most people don't, and a lot of people, I think, when we turn these people down for driving tests, I think they just think we're being horrible.
Yeah,
we're not. So firstly, it's all about safety.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that person is safe to be on the road, and I need time to check that.
Yeah.
And I say, secondly, is if we do bring people who aren't suitable, so we will get pulled up on it.
Yeah. Do you get the same issue that teachers get now and you get the parents onto you?
Sometimes, yeah. Not very often.
Because I can't imagine that, because it's one of those things. I had family and friends or family members and like extended family that took me out. So I just tried to get as much hours as I could in the car, as well as on top of obviously a driving instructor. Whereas I had friends that didn't have that, so they just had their driving lesson. So obviously their family didn't really know how good a driver they were, apart from coming back. And obviously, like, I'd come back and tell everyone, and I still do, I'm an amazing driver. But I probably wasn't ready for that first test. Clearly, if I failed anyway. But also, then I had older friends that had passed, and the minute I passed, they were like, oh, you're crashing your first year. I'm like, you what? And they're like, yeah, you're crashing your first year. I've had 2 crashes. And I'm like, but surely that makes you're not controlling the car, or you're doing something wrong, and this is crashes that are their fault. So I'm like, but should you have passed your test if you're crashing in your first year? And there is a high percentage, I know, of the first 3 years that you're more likely to. And touch wood, with the exception of a lorry going into me in a motorway sideways, I haven't had a crash. But sure, that's the whole safety and control aspect, isn't it? Which, yes, we can all know when to indicate and look in the rear view and know how to do that. But actually, if you can't control the car safely, and I guess that's all on you guys, isn't it? That's quite a
how
do you sleep at night?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, yeah, sometimes when you take people for tests when you first start, you are more nervous than the learner
Yeah,
when
I
when you
bet.
when you first start in this job.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to say, going back to what you said about parents, yeah, it's good when parents do take them out
Mm.
because the parents are a bit more at ease. So when they do pass, they already know kind of what their standard is like.
Yeah.
They're already familiar with the car and so on. It's not like me. When I first got my car, I'd passed my test a few months previous. My parents had never seen me drive.
Mm.
Got some keys, off I went.
Yeah.
They had no idea what my driving was like. The only problem is sometimes when students go out with their parents, is parents don't always get a full picture
Mm.
because the student will sometimes only drive to work and back
Yeah.
or college and back.
Yeah.
So, they look like a great driver doing that
On
one
that
doing that one
journey.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas if
Which they take it that way because then they avoid that roundabout
Yeah.
or that junction or
Yeah. Which, of course, if you take that same student through, I don't know, town on a busy Saturday or something, that's a completely different
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes if they see them doing the same route, they do get a bit of a false sense of that they are ready, where
Yeah.
actually they're only driving the same route that they know like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely you can see the difference in the ones that have
Yeah.
had private practice.
Yeah.
They just look that bit more I don't know, maybe natural because
Yeah.
they're just doing it that more regularly. They're out most days driving their own cars.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it becomes second nature as well. It's like when I was looking at the driving lessons online modules and the car controls, and you think, oh, well, yeah, you're talking through like what side the windscreen wipers are on and what side the indicators are on. And I was just like, yeah, it's some people don't know that. They've never sat in a car or their parents don't drive or whatever it might be. And all of that is absolutely second nature. I mean, I had a job at a garage, so I was just throwing keys when I needed a car to use for work chores or jobs. I was just throwing the keys and I just had to get in and drive, and it could have been anything that I had to get in and drive. So I quickly got used to the fact that reverse is in a different place, or the lights are in a different place, or whatever it might be, or the windscreen wipers. And I think you forget that it is second nature, that some people they don't know things like that. And the worst thing you could do is like, oh, we'll turn right here, and then you're like, okay, I've got a signal, well, where is the signal, what do I do? But I don't know, it's just automatic, isn't it? You just get used to it.
Yeah, and it's really funny working with trainee driving instructors, and they're teaching you the gears, and they say, "Okay, put it into first gear." And you say to them, "You're gonna have to give me more than that."
Yeah, yeah.
Because as a driver, you've got to follow the pattern, and it's going to spring back if you don't keep pressure on it, and so on. You've got to put the clutch down
Put
first.
the clutch down.
Yeah. But yeah, you will get a trainee driving instructor say these sort of things to you, and then like you say, have that moment of you forget, don't you?
Yeah.
You forget that people don't know this.
Yeah.
And they think you can say, oh yeah, put it into first gear.
Yeah.
Whereas some people need
where
need
is
help
first
with that.
gear?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And simple things like you put the clutch down, because you don't see that. Like I remember as a kid, you'd sit if you were on a private bit of road and you go, oh, can I do the gears, or can I do that? But you don't see the feet moving, you don't see all of that as well. So have you seen more people wanting automatic versus manual, or is that?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a shift.
I mean, we grew up with chokes, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, there's definitely more call for automatic at the moment.
Yeah.
It's definitely getting higher, which I assume will continue as the electric cars come in because they're automatic.
Yeah.
I still typically the people who learn automatic are typically older people who just want a license.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're getting more young people going straight for automatic, definitely.
But manual, you can go faster, can't you? See, that was always my thing. I was just like, but with a manual car, I can go a bit quicker because I'm in control of the gears.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I drive like I'm in Fast and the Furious. So what are you going to do?
As I say, automatic's not something that I tend to teach myself. So it's got limited experience in an automatic, but yeah, it's becoming more popular.
I've managed to stall an automatic. That was my epic, like,
I remember you saying,
thing that I've managed to do. And every
Yeah.
time it's like, how do you manage? I don't know, but it was literally in the middle of town while we were all queuing going up to the church for Market Hill. So that wasn't embarrassing. I thought I'd just broken the car.
I think I have read
Still.
somewhere that it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible. I
Yeah.
definitely did, because it restarted. It didn't kill the car. So,
Mm.
but yeah. So how do you? Because I feel like there's people kind of want to be a driving instructor, almost feel like it's not an easy job, but kind of an easy way in. Have you found that as well? That a lot of people just, because with all that, I think with the obviously with the whole setting up a small business, and like you said, going alone quite quickly, and you're deciding your pricing, you're having to get your students in, everything's on your shoulders, which I think a lot of people don't understand. So they could obviously sign up to Nayland Driving School or become that. Do you find more and more people are coming into the industry wanting almost see it as an easy job? Or
Yeah, I don't know.
because dealing with 17, 18-year-olds ain't easy.
No, I don't think they see it as an easy job. I think they think it's going to be easy to get into.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the way it's advertised from the idea, as we said earlier. All you need is a driving license and 3 years experience, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people think it's easier to get into. And saying the part 1, part 2 is not too bad, but when you get into the part 3, if you're going to do it properly, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And most people turn around and go, I didn't think it was going to be this much work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so much
involved.
to learn. But in some ways, a bit like we were just saying with the whole putting it into gear thing.
Yeah.
Once you start breaking bits down like that, they start realising it's not as easy as expected.
And do you get a lot of people coming into it as not their first job, but sort of second or third job to change a career? And do they realise, because like me going through the show me tell me stuff, which we obviously didn't have to do, some of them I'm like, oh, I'd panic at that. I wouldn't know what to say. I genuinely don't think I'd pass my test. If I had to retake my test, I don't think I'd pass it.
I mean, yeah, that's why we have training for the advanced test, what we call the part 2, because most people wouldn't be able to get in the car and pass it just like that, without any training. I forgot what the question was now. Sorry, what was the question?
Is it quite a shock that they come in later in life as like second or third, to how much now compared to when we all passed our test?
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of a shock, especially the older people I train. When we do emergency stop and I put my hand under the mirror and I say stop, they always turn around and go, I used to be banging on the dash with the clipboard. But yeah, so most people who train, they're open to learning. But yeah, we get all sorts of ages. We get young people who've got young families, so that they can work around schools. They can work 9 till 3, things like that. We've also get like older people who've effectively had their career and earned their money. They're not quite ready to retire, but they've had busy jobs in the city, working 12, 13-hour days. They've paid their mortgages and things like that, but they're not ready to retire. They still want
something to
do. So you get people like that come into it.
And I think they get to impart wisdom. It's like when my husband went into working for the college, teaching students, apprentices for their plumbing and gas. They had retired people. They couldn't do the install boilers anymore. They didn't want the manual job, but actually they really enjoyed the imparting wisdom. And then the things that they've been doing for years and years and years, that there's little things and tricks and bits you can do. And they just, that's kind of thing as well. It's just enjoying that. I don't want a full-time job. I've got the flexibility, and obviously you have the flexibility of being a driving instructor, and you choose what hours you want to do. I'm guessing they mostly want evenings, going to college evenings and weekends, but
I think it depends where you are. I mean, where where I am, it's not an issue because the
Mm.
main colleges all have free periods.
Oh, okay.
So
So you
there's
fit
plenty
in
there's plenty
round.
of people. I mean, I haven't worked proper evening and weekends in years,
Nice.
at least since before COVID.
Yeah.
The latest I might work to is sort of 5 o'clock.
Well,
But I've got young kids, so
I was going to
quite
say that's
often I don't.
perfect with a young
Yeah,
family
quite
then.
often I don't even work that.
Yeah.
3 o'clock I'm done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we get a lot of ex-army
Mm.
and things like that coming to
Yeah.
this industry because they've technically done their 30 years, and some of them even getting army pensions and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But they're like, I'm too young to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah.
So, but then, like you say, it is that wisdom sort of thing, and a lot of them have got experience driving bigger vehicles
Yeah.
and stuff like that. A lot of stuff that I haven't got experience in.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we get all sorts of people coming to this job.
Nice.
Mm.
And now you've launched driving lessons at home.
Mhm.
So it's an online driving course.
Mhm.
So how did that come about? What made you think?
So there's two reasons this came about. Firstly, is a lot of the trainees I was working with kept saying, when are you going to put your stuff on YouTube? When are you going to put your stuff on YouTube? Because that's what a lot of
That's
people,
what you do
that's
nowadays.
what a lot of
Everything goes
people
on
do. Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people I was working with kept saying, when am I going to do it?
Yeah.
I kept thinking, well, I think I can do something better than that.
Yeah.
That was my aim. I wanted something with more structure,
Yeah.
and I wanted something that wasn't just video.
Yeah.
I wanted something that covered everything, the
Yeah.
whole syllabus.
Yeah.
So that was one reason. The other reason was when COVID was happening, a lot of the driving instructors still needed training.
Mm.
As I said to you earlier, they've got a 2-year window.
Yeah.
So COVID caused some problems with that.
Yeah.
But we were doing a lot of Zoom sessions and so on. And I realised that actually, for some of it, yes, driving is a practical skill, but for a lot of it, you don't necessarily need a moving car.
Yeah.
The education, a bit like you were saying about your other half,
Yeah.
teaching plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yes, it's a practical skill. You've still got to learn to put
Yeah.
those pipes together and whatever, but it doesn't mean he's not doing classroom-based sessions explaining how things work, what happens if you do this, what happens if you don't do this. And that's what I wanted to do with the driving.
Yeah.
Is I wanted to try and put that education element of, what you're looking for, why are you looking for that, what's going to happen if this happens, how are you going to get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure people were well educated, particularly people going out with parents.
Yeah.
If people are being trained majoritively by mum and dad, which does happen sometimes,
Yeah.
I still wanted to make sure these people were well educated, well
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about. Yeah, so there's a lot in the course. A lot of it is very information based. Even me giving information or asking the pupils for the information,
Yeah.
drawing it out the pupils, because it's all very well me telling them, but I need to hear the correct answer back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to ask them the question. I need to get the correct answer.
Yeah.
If they don't know, I need to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my kind of thought process. Is yes, it is a practical skill.
Yeah.
Like plumbing.
Yeah.
But there's certain elements you can educate people on without having to be in the car.
Yeah.
In the same way I was with these trainee driving instructors. I was training a lot of them online. They didn't have a student. They didn't have a moving car. Some of them, when it got to the point where they were allowed out with family members, were sending me videos of them taking family members out because they were the same household and so on.
Yeah.
But these people didn't get any worse results in their exams than the people who went out in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still getting passes.
Yeah.
And quite confident passes as well, because
they
were still well educated.
Yeah. And I suppose it makes you think more about it, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, if you're watching a video or learning something online, and it's that risk thing, isn't it? You're not if we went out now and we did half an hour around here, all those hazards aren't going to appear. All of the incidents, when I get to a roundabout could be empty, so I just go. Could get to a junction could be, you get people doing all sorts, so you're not going to have every experience, whereas actually to sit and do those modules, it gives you those other experiences, because it's almost by chance that things are going to happen on on the road. And this is, I'm sort of gone on a negative here of just people pulling out and how that's going to work. But actually, in practice, you could have like the best drive ever. I remember we always wanted our test on market day, because then we could hopefully just sit in traffic for as long as possible for the 40 minutes and then go back to the test centre. So similar, if you can sit and, like you say, because obviously the guy doing the test was asking me questions at the same time, I can answer them, whether that's happened to me on a practical lesson or not, because I've seen it and I've walked through it of what could happen. So yeah, it's a definite, and I suppose it's a cheaper way as well of having those extra hours of not, because with lessons being how much they are, and that's the first thing whenever you go, oh, your kid's learning, oh yeah, do you know how expensive it's the first thing they ever say. Well, actually, if they can sit online and get all of those hours in as well, that must be, I mean, learning more is always going to be a bonus, isn't it? So
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things you mentioned there. So first, like you say, sometimes you might come to the roundabout and it is clear. So, you know, these situations don't always happen, but in the course, you know, you'll see me as we come up to a roundabout and we're coming round the roundabout in the right-hand side. The student wants to come off, and I might say to them, okay, well, what are you going to do before you come off? And they say, well, check the mirror. And I say, what are you checking for? And they say, cars. And I'll say to them, okay, well, if you do see a car there,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do about it? And that's when they go, no, I'm not thought about that. I'll say, well,
keep going round.
Yeah, exactly. But they don't necessarily know that's an option.
Yeah, no.
The option to keep the right signal on.
Yeah, because you've been told.
Go back round again.
You're going off at the third exit. Yeah. End of. I'm going off no matter what, whether there's a cyclist or a car.
Yeah, and you can't. Well, if there's a car in your left door mirror, you know it's not an option.
Yeah.
Or could you drop back, tuck in behind them?
Yeah.
And these are the sort of things we explore, because, like you say, that won't necessarily happen to them.
No.
When they're driving.
Yeah.
But once they're passed, could be.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you mentioned saving money.
Yeah.
So yes, you still go out and do these lessons, but you can use the course to prepare for those lessons.
Yeah.
Your instructor might say, okay, next week we're going to work on parallel parking.
Yeah.
You can study up on parallel parking.
Yeah.
And you can have a bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Before you go into it again, hopefully.
Yeah.
Saving you money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you can be prepared for that subject.
Yeah.
Or equally, you can go and reflect on that subject. If you've done the subject, still needs some room for improvement. You can go home and you can look up that subject and hopefully learn more about it and hopefully nail it next time around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
it's
extra study resources at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
All that additional. And like with anything, whether you're someone, and I think that's what's good with video, because back with us, I mean, did we take a theory test? We did take a theory test, didn't we? But it was very early.
Yeah, it was
early doors, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But before, it was all practical as well. So you didn't have that. So, and if you're not good at what I call school bookwork of just sitting and reading, like we used to get, oh, well, here's a copy of the highway code for your 17th birthday sort of thing. Yeah. Sit and read through. Well, I'm no good at that. I will read it and will go in one ear and out the other.
I'm same. I am terrible at that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if it's just that's not your way of learning, so actually to have a video and to have those scenarios laid out at you can you're going through the motions as well. So yes, it's not practical, but actually you've seen it, you've felt it, and then you've been asked it as well. So yeah,
and that's why I wanted to do the course, because when people were saying about putting their stuff on YouTube, and I was saying, well, I think I can do something different on the videos for the relevant subjects. There are links to the highway code for those particular elements, or a book called Driving the Essential Skills, or blogs, or whatever it might be, because there are some people, like you say, we've got different learning styles. There are some people who want that other information, so as well as the video, there's links to extra things where if you want to go and read more, you can. And
as well, this is the difference with YouTube. Don't get me wrong, I live on social media and I love social media. Well, hate social media at some points, but the bit I dislike about it is you will have people that will be probably have a massive following and call themselves experts, but they're not 100% correct either. So I think it's as well, you'll get a lot of people, and I'm talking generalising social media, not driving instructors.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it myself, and you've seen it and read it, and I'll have someone say, "Oh, so and so had this." Technically, it's not right. It's a lot. I get it a lot with bookkeeping and accounts. Well, what would you look at? The HMRC website, and it's the same with the highway code. Well, where's that information coming from? Well, it's going to come from the highway code. Like that's the rules of the road, and that's where you're going to find out about it. You can't trust, and I mean we'll get this all with AI coming in as well. I could quite happily sit and make up a course and make a video on how to drive, and AI is Americanized. It's not, but if you're not fact checking, whereas I think it's that thing of the resources and everything you're using and everything that's out there, it's fact checking, it's correct, and this is how you pass your driving test. Because ultimately you could get faults, and you get those different kinds of faults, but also it's black and white. You either pass or fail. So it's not that, oh yeah, well, you could go around the roundabout, but also you could just drive a bit faster and go in. Well, no, that's dangerous. And it's all that, what a fault is as well. And I think that's really, really important, because if you can talk people through them, again, not going down the negative route, but that's how people learn. So when they are going out on their lessons and it is a practical lesson, they know that that's not an option because it's not safe. So it's that, yeah, it's knowing the resources and where you're going to get stuff from. Because
we do talk about a lot of those sort of things as well. You know, what sort of fault it is.
Yeah.
How badly was the other road use or member of the public affected?
Yeah.
You know, we do talk about things like that, and we do tend to refer to them as faults.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you hear them referred to as minors.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who don't like the term minor because
Yeah.
they make it makes it sound almost a bit insignificant, but it is still a fault at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, we do talk a lot about faults.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're serious faults, they're going to impact people massively.
What's the difference between the faults?
So you've got three different type of faults. So you've got a driver fault, which is something low risk. Yeah. Let's say I'm not an examiner, but I will give you my
test your knowledge.
I will give you a bit of what I consider an example.
Yeah.
So if you're passing a side road on the left, you won't turn left at the end of the road, but there's a side road on the left. Now you put that signal on too early.
Yeah.
Quite a little side road. No one was around at the time. You're likely to pick up a driver fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
see, I think that's a major one. So because of where I live, people, but also so where you pull out on Ball Lane, I've had people indicate left, but I'll wait until they're turning, because I've had people where they're turning into the front of the hotel.
Yeah.
So they've it stressed me out.
See, this is where it's not black and white. The examiner will have to assess all these different elements at the time, like how busy was the junction? Was it a tiny little entrance into a shop? Well, not like, is it one like you? That's got loads of traffic.
Yeah.
Who was around at the time
when
it happened? So the examiner will assess. They're not all sort of black and white.
Yeah.
The examiner will assess all these different things at the time of the fault.
Yeah.
Now, however, if they do it and there's a car there, then that's more likely to be a serious fault, which is what you were saying, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they've told the other driver they're turning into side road. There's a high risk of the person pulling out in front of them. So now it's a high risk fault, which is a serious fault. It's likely to get them. Well, a serious fault will get them failed.
Yeah.
And then a dangerous fault would be where they signalled and the car actually pulled out in front of them, and the examiners had to intervene.
Right.
So now that's a dangerous fault.
Yeah.
Both will get you failed.
Yeah.
But you've got driver fault, serious fault, and dangerous fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have 15 driver faults.
Yeah.
But as I say, that signal fault won't be black and white. That will be determined by who was around at the time, how busy the junction was, and so on.
Yeah. But that's where the online course can help, I'm guessing, because the module of junctions and turn-ins is gonna, because you might not have that scenario. You might not have even.
Yeah.
Would it be a case of that almost an instructor wouldn't? Because you talk about signalling and when to signal, but I'm guessing in the midst of a test scenario, if you're nervous already and he's gone, I'll turn, and it's not a. I mean, mind you, you take everyone round the test where they're more likely to be tested as well, don't you? So
I use.
I'm going back in the day, and I chose Bury because I would not touch the Colchester Magic Roundabout. So
I mean, I use roads that will come up on test,
Yeah.
but I don't.
But you, I mean, you won't know the actual right. This is where they're going for their 40 minutes.
No, I don't teach people
Yeah.
by route, and never have, because what I was saying earlier, I don't want them, like we were saying with the parents and the college run,
Being an amazing.
I don't
route.
want them to know this route inside out and be excellent at that and hopeless everywhere else.
Yeah.
So yes, I do use the similar roads or same roads, but I don't teach them by route and say, right, this is what you do here, this is what you do here, because then I'm teaching them to pass the test.
Yeah.
Which is something I've always tried to avoid.
Yeah. And that's going back to if I suppose you could have someone who they could pass their test of people which aren't ready. Oh, you're brilliant, you can pass that test. Well, actually, if something happens and that car does pull out, or something that's never happened on that route before, that's going to massively, well, screw them over, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not.
And this is where the training's changed from like when me and you did it. Yeah, it would have been very much, check your mirror here, signal here. Yeah, use your second gear for your turn. It would have been very instructional based. Whereas now, it'll be, okay, what are you going to do first? Yeah, why are you checking that mirror? If you see someone, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
How's that going to affect? Are you going to continue to use that signal?
Yeah.
Or are you going to hold
I
off?
so wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't know. I just don't.
But this is where we're trying to now make safer drivers, rather than teach them to pass the test, which is probably more.
Oh yeah, definitely what we got back in the day.
Yeah.
In that it was, you just wanted to get past. That was and that was always the student. Well, I was guessing it still is the student's aim. But also, I think it's a safety thing. Because do you think driving's got worse have you found? So you can. So I've got a thing about social media in terms of, you think it's worse because people will, but they've got somewhere to vent publicly about people's driving, and you get the age-old thing, to the person in the white Merc who pulled out on me.
Yeah.
It's like, it happens. I've done it before. I've accidentally, we're all, like you said earlier, none of us are perfect. And it's the same with obviously Long Melford being a classic of driving through Long Melford. You have to drive at about 20-25 because people do just pull out, because that's the nature of the village. Do you think it's got worse of people?
I don't know if worse is the right word. I think busier.
Yeah.
There's just more
cars on the road.
More cars, more traffic, which leads to more potential problems. And like you say, people pulling out of gaps that they might not shouldn't do because they don't have been fed up of waiting for a while.
Just
so
going
I
for
think
it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is say it's not so much the driving's got worse. I think it's just got busier.
Because I had about 3 people let me out yesterday, and I wasn't in my smart car, because everyone's lovely in my smart car. I was in Ben's BMW, so I'm always conscious of making sure I indicate, because I'm like, BMW. But 3 people let me out. I was like, oh, thanks, everyone's being nice on the road today. I mean, it was a Sunday, but anyway.
I mean, we don't have sign-written cars anymore. Me and my wife, we just use the roof boxes as and when I'm teaching. But she used to say whenever she was driving my car for the L plates. As soon as someone saw an L plate, she said they'd be out in front of her. Didn't matter that she was driving.
No,
from
exactly.
a distance, they saw the L plate.
Exactly. They're like, right, I'm not getting stuck.
She could really tell the difference between driving her unmarked car and my marked car at the time.
You probably still get that, to be fair.
Probably would, As I say, we tend to now just use the roof boxes, and I just pop them on as and when I'm teaching.
Wow.
But she said she did used to notice the difference.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So do you think that, because I think people have got more impatient as well. So that's not only are we busier, I think people have got more impatient. And I think especially since COVID as well, that everyone just seems more angry on the road, and they seem to want to get somewhere now. And I am guilty of the fact that I don't ever leave myself enough time. I still think I can get to Bury in 20 minutes. we haven't been able to get to Bury in 20 minutes for a number of years. But I still think, because I used to leave at 7 in the morning to get to Bury, and there wasn't the speed limits that's on there now. So I think you get stuck in your ways. So have you found that people get more impatient? Are they worse with learners, or have you?
They're not too bad with learners. I think with learners, there's a time and a place to take them into certain
Yes.
elements. I occasionally see learners, and my personal thought is I wouldn't take them onto this road at this time. If
Yeah.
they're on an open road plodding along at 20 mile an hour,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't have them on this road yet.
Yeah.
Most people are okay with learners in my experience. You get the odd one.
Yeah.
But then I've had the odd one when I've been instructor training.
Yeah.
I've been pretending to be the student.
Yeah.
And, light's gone green. I've barely had time to take the handbrake off, and the car behind on the horn.
Yeah.
And I'm the one driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some people, just because it's a,
Yeah,
just 'cause-
they just think,
you do
yeah.
just because it's a learner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do tend to find when I do the part 2 training, so the advanced driving, I do tend to find that a lot of people are just too fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, we do have a discussion, and people are open and honest. They do go, yeah, that I'm just used to not leaving myself enough time.
Yeah.
And rushing around, and they come flying up to junctions, glance gone.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, okay, let's
Yeah.
slow this down a little bit. And a lot of them are, we all live busy lives these days.
Yeah.
We don't leave ourselves enough time.
No.
And I do have these chats with these people doing this advanced driving test, because a lot of them are just driving too fast, not even necessarily speeding, but
No.
just accelerating heavy, braking heavy.
Yeah.
Just trying to get from A to B as quick as possible. Not necessarily speeding as such, but it's coming into things too fast.
Yeah.
Well,
it was classic how I got my speeding ticket, was coming from a job to get home, because Em was getting home from school. So it's that, and I mean, I'm more impressed I managed to get a ticket in the smart car. Like, that is impressive. But I was coming down a hill, but I was in a massive line of traffic.
Yeah.
I saw the van. It was one of the stay on the side vans. Massive long line of traffic. Looked down. I was like, "Oh, I'll be all right." No, it had got me further away than I thought. He must have made a mint that day, because if he got me, he'd have got that whole long line, because we were all steadily going at the same
with the same speed, yeah.
But I will admit, I'm a fast driver, but that's my belief, if I can control the car, and I know I'm not going to do much damage in a smart car. But it was coming from the Glempsford up to the Green Triangle, where there's so many. However, I get beeped and people get annoyed with me, because I will pull up, I will look both, because it's such an awkward angle and it's a hot spot for accidents. So then I'll massively take my time on there, even though I've been caught. And yeah, I will. I've already been told I won't have the patience for the speed awareness course, so I will have to take the points. I'm going to take the points and the time, because I won't be able to sit there for 3 hours talking about safety. Well, I am safe on the road. I mean, you try driving my car on a dual carriageway or anywhere quick, it ain't going to happen. So yeah, I've already been told I will have to take the fine.
That's one reason. It's one reason I've never got into it, because people have said to me, "Well, you teach speed awareness courses." Oh no, I can't get into that. Because I know it's going to be a lot of people who don't want to be there.
We don't want to be there, but also that a couple of people have said to me, it's talking about the road safety, and 9 times out of 10, it's people that have been caught just over 30 or just over 40. So they're not going 70, 80, 90 in a 60 or something like that. So it's not driving dangerously. Arguably, yes, you're speeding, so you're driving dangerously. But at the same time, if I'd been caught doing that speed through the centre of Melford, yeah, hands up, that is dangerous. There are all people just, whether they pull out or walk out. Where I was, and I'm not defending, I was speeding, I was wrong. I will pay my fine and take my points. But where I was, that speed isn't danger. I'm not going to get into the debate, but I'm coming down a hill. You're not in a necessarily built up area. There's not school children. There's not people. There's not shops. It's a very different scenario. So I think And I think that's where a lot of people then become complacent. It's like now, like I said about Bury, it's 40 miles an hour all the way to Bury. That just do my head. That's where I haven't got patience. So it's that, I don't know, that's where I couldn't do the course, because you're talking to me when I'm like, well, I actually am a safe driver. I have to be. I've got a smart car. Like, if I was in Ben's car, yeah, hands up, I could be really, really dangerous if I wanted to be. But I don't know. This is where I couldn't be a driving instructor, I think, is where I'm getting to.
But I think a lot of the things you just said there, like you said about going through through Long Melford, and you were saying about, the kids potentially walking out and so on, and I think that's the point. You know all this from your experience, and this is where we make the assumption the learners do the same.
Yeah.
So if they're going through there,
yeah,
and you say to them, what sort of things you're looking out for, they probably don't know the answer.
no,
And that's when you say, okay, well, are any of the cars coming backwards?
yeah,
Oh, I don't know. Well, what clues have you got that they're coming backwards? Well, I'm not really sure. Well, what does a reverse light look like?
yeah,
Yeah. Is there anyone sitting in the vehicle? Is there any lights on the vehicle?
yeah,
Can you see any feet underneath the vehicle?
yeah,
And this is the bit that, like we were saying, you don't, you've been driving for years. You assume that someone who's been driving 10 hours is going to know all this.
yeah, not at all.
And this is where you're trying to, or, through the course, I'm trying to educate
Yeah,
the people, because it's all stuff that, we take for granted.
yeah,
We've learned for our own mistakes
second nature as
and
well,
everything
isn't it?
like that. Yeah. And this is where I'm trying to educate,
Yeah,
so that they do, when they come through here, they do think twice.
yeah,
Yeah, they haven't just passed their test and go, oh, it's 30, I can drive through here at 30. They are thinking about these things.
yeah.
Um,
Because it's funny, I won't let M cross the road in Long Melford. So even though is it a pelican crossing when it's the traffic lights?
which ones?
So when it's a push button, when you press the button,
Yeah.
is that a pelican? It's not a. It's a pedestrian crossing.
Yeah,
Is it?
Pelicans. Pelicans, the one with the flashing amber.
Oh no, that's the one.
So it's a puffin
It's puffin.
or a toucan.
Oh,
Can cyclists
so
use
it's
it?
where no.
Ah, okay. So it's
It's where you press the button as a pedestrian, and then you've got the set of traffic lights. So I won't even let her cross there, because so many people don't even see the traffic lights, because it's obviously so built up and so busy. If you don't know, you don't know. And I've stepped out before and people have just gone. So yeah, it's all of those, like you say, it's that hazard awareness that we do. We've got that experience. We know what it's like to drive through a built up village versus a country road, or
I mean, most of us have learned from our own mistakes,
yeah,
whether they're misses or near misses or
yeah, completely.
yeah. So we learn from these sort of things, but we forget that these new people hitting the road don't have the years of experience that we do.
No. So what's next? What's the next plans?
Well, I mean,
So how many are in Nayland now? How have you got a team of?
I think at the moment we've probably got about 15. I think
Nice.
it goes up and down.
Yeah.
People go and often do their own thing.
Yeah.
People join new instructors, and then after they've been doing it for a couple of years, they go and start their own businesses.
Yeah.
Which again we help with, because you said earlier, you talked about the business side of things, because a lot of people who come to us have never been self-employed before.
Yeah.
So whereas with a lot of training companies, they will just get them through the exams, we do try and help them with things like being self-employed.
Nice.
And things like that, because a lot of them have never done it before. It's their first time, so we do try.
It's massive unknown for people as well. Just because we obviously get loads of people coming to us, and they just it's like that first year where you pretty much pay double tax, and it's the key dates of when, and even putting money aside for tax as well, that you've got to put that aside, because you will get a bill.
Yeah, we do a special one for tax and stuff around the April time. People who are going to be doing it for doing their taxes for the first time.
Yeah.
We do ones on like diary management and stuff, because some people never manage their own diaries before.
No.
Which again, that can take some getting used to.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're not constantly late, or double booking yourself, and so sometimes for some people that can take a bit of getting used to as well. So yeah, we'll continue working with Nayland, continue training instructors because again, it's me trying to spread the word through
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
instructors. I
Do-
train the instructors and then they go and train the learners. So
Yeah, perfect. Are you looking for more instructors? Are you always on the lookout for more instructors for
yeah,
Nayland?
we're always on the
Because that's quite a big thing that you teach them everything on the business side as well. Because some places, like you say, they don't. They're there to learn the trade, but actually, because some places they want to keep everybody, so they're like, oh, we won't let them know those secrets. We'll just. But I suppose it's being representing your brand and Nayland. You want them to be the best they can be, really, don't you?
Yeah, we tend to try and do our best. We tend to run training workshops every year. We've got one booked up for March this year. Not March, May, sorry. We've got a training workshop booked up focusing on like neurodiversity and things like that. So yeah, we're constantly trying to train people as best we can.
Yeah.
But as you say, the downside to training them so well is they leave us.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
And
I can do this now.
yeah, that is the downside. Yeah, so whenever one of ours leaves to go independent, my wife always says you trained them too well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, it will be exactly
yeah.
that. So yeah. And you've mentioned Vicky, so it'd be unfair if we didn't talk about Vicky because I've known Vicky again for about 21 years,
Yeah.
longer than I've known you. And you seem to work together because she's not, but she is part of the business, isn't she? So it works quite well, the two of you, isn't it? Because it is your Nayland, it's your business, but she's quite involved, isn't she? And it's very supportive because it's a massive.
Yeah, you've got to have that bit of support. You know, because say you are self-employed, so it can be quite daunting. But yeah, say Vicky's always been an employed person, so yeah, so she's always been there ready if things go a little bit sideways to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've always worked around each other, but we've got a couple of young kids, not so young anymore, but they certainly were. But we used to work around each other, and that was one of the things that this job gave me the flexibility to do.
Yeah.
Because I could work around Vicky's employed role.
Yeah.
So someone was always there with the kids.
Yeah.
And
what's next for the online side of things as well?
Oh, so much. so much I don't know where to start. Because it's a relatively new project, and I'm confident that there's enough in it.
Yeah.
That it's worth its money. However, there are bits that I want to update, bits I want to add, and that's not going to stop for at least 6 to 12 months. So
I don't think it will ever stop though. Sorry to be.
No, I know. Yeah,
but I think
I'll probably keep
the,
thinking of more things to add.
The nature of the person you are and wanting to improve, and also different things coming out, whether it is a change, it could, DVSA could change anything at any time. There'll be different things that students say or things that come to you like, oh, I've not covered that. Then you'll go back to an old video and go, oh, which you're already doing, of just like, oh, I could improve.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah. And people are already asking me. They're saying, "When are you bringing out the instructor training one?" I'm like, oh, "Hang on,
bear with.
Let's finish this learner one first, shall we?" But yeah, because actually to a point, the learner one you could use for a part 2 test.
Yeah,
you could use theory test part 2 test.
Yeah,
but yeah, it wouldn't be quite enough for the part 3 element. So yeah, people are, when are you going to bring that out? I'm like, oh, hang on, yeah. In time.
It's on the in the plan.
It's not there's a few people doing it for part 3 already. Actually, there's a lot of people who started these online courses for instructor training, but no one's done anything with the learners.
It's weird, isn't it?
I don't know why.
Especially since everyone's just on their phones as well. So everyone's there, everyone's watching stuff, everyone's...
Yeah, there's a lot of content for learners on like YouTube and stuff like that, and a bit like you said about your social media. I wouldn't promise that it's all great. Yeah. I'm sure there is some good stuff out there, but I wouldn't...
absolutely amazing stuff, and it will be brilliant, and it's free, and there's great resources. However, you can't 100% trust something that's, I don't know, it could be someone's idea, and it's that sense check, isn't it? So. Yeah,
there was one video, I didn't watch it, there was a video posted on the local driving instructor group, And someone said, "Is this person even a driving instructor?"
Mm.
They said it looks more like just him and his wife out driving about, and so on. I don't know. I didn't watch the video, but this is the point, isn't it? Some of the driving instructors would look at some of it and go, "Ooh."
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that is, I think you've all, and I suppose that's the benefit of why you've got different driving instructors and everyone's does really well, is that you'll have different, like with anything, different personalities will suit different learners and different ways of working and different learning. But it's, I know, obviously between the minor and a serious fault, yes, there's a grey area there, but ultimately it's already a fault, and that's where the black and white come in. So I think as long as people and instructors and everyone is following the black and white side of things, absolutely fine. But it's when it's a bit of a grey area and what people are saying. But I suppose that's what you then avoid on.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ever let it go.
Yeah.
You know, if I was on if you know, like you say, if it was a drive fault with no,
Oh yeah, 100%.
I will always challenge the learner and go, well, what if someone was around?
Yeah.
Then what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't brush it off and go, oh, well, it's only a driver fault. I'd say, well, what if?
Oh yeah,
you know,
100%.
because it could be worse. So yeah, I don't tend to let anything go. Like,
no,
I tend to talk about the worst case scenarios.
Which you've got to prepare people for. At the end of the day, once they're in the big wide world and someone is like pulling across or pulling out, or they've got to be ready for that, because like you say, it could be, and you don't want to be that one where an accident's happened and you're like, who was that, did I teach them, were they safe, what were they doing? And so yeah, that's really important. So yeah. Oh, well, thanks for coming on.
It's all right.
It's been amazing having you.
It's been nice to be here.
What we'll do, we'll put everything in the show notes about Nayland Driving School and the driving lessons online at home. And then, as Michael said, if you're keen to get into driving or become an instructor, or get in touch if that's all right with you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, and just pick his brains, or don't pick mine, although I'm an awesome driver. I couldn't pass now. Oh, thanks for coming on. And if you're interested, as I say, get in touch and please like and share, especially if you know anyone who's learning to drive at the moment. So please share, and it would be much appreciated as always. Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business, or even their small business which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.